Good morning, everyone, and welcome into Wake and Take. It's your boy Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. Today, we've got a few news stories to cover, and then we're going to go position by position and give you the best Dynasty sell at that position. We're going to have a quarterback, a running back, a wide receiver, and a tight end to sell from this show. So make sure you stick around after the news to discuss those players. And go ahead, take out your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All right, so welcome in everyone here listening on the podcast. Thank you for tuning into that. Again, you guys can find the Wake and Take podcast via the link in the description. And thank you, of course, to everyone here tuning in live on the chat, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. Thank you guys so much. The show would be nothing without you. So we have some news to discuss, and then we're going to talk some dynasty sells. We'll start with the Cowboys wide receiver room. Yesterday, there was a little bit of an interview published about the Cowboys wide receiver room and what they're kind of expecting to happen. As we know, Michael Gallup is gone, and it's really just CeeDee Lamb. Not even like Michael Gallup was that good, so it's not even like they're really missing anyone. And Brandon Cooks has kind of lost a step as well. So this Cowboys receiving room is wide open, and a Cowboys personnel person was asked what they kind of expect. A coaching staff member said it starts with Jalen Tolbert. He made a big jump from year 1 to year 2, and we expect the same thing to happen for him going into year 3. And Jalen Brooks, he works hard, and he's one of those guys that's always studying, and he can play all the wide receiver positions. So we're looking forward to seeing what he can do this year as well. So Jalen Brooks is a name to keep your eye on. And apparently they're looking and hoping for some Jalen Tolbert as well. Although I'm not sure what they mean by saying he had a big jump from year 1 to year 2. I guess it is a big jump to go from 2 receptions and 12 yards to 22 receptions and 268 yards and 2 touchdowns. But that's still not like that impressive. So to me, there's still plenty of opportunity for another wide receiver in this room. You guys already know where I'm going with this. Because Brandon Cooks, he's lost a step again. Last year, it was his 30-year-old season. He had a career low, only 54 catches for 657 yards. He, of course, found the end zone 8 times, which helped his fantasy production. But still, he had 10 games of fewer than 40 yards, which was just not that great, especially for a player like Cooks. So with there being such a big vacancy, the article mentioned a few ways for them to address this scenario. First, of course, Jalen Tolbert, Jalen Brooks, as was mentioned by the Cowboys coaching member. But also potential 2 tight end sets. As we know, last year they spent decent draft capital on Luke Schoonmaker. They already have Jake Ferguson kind of breaking out, and Peyton Hendershot has been decent as well as both a blocker and a red zone threat. So they do have some solid tight ends. And lastly, of course, 6th round rookie Ryan Flournoy also has tons of potential to kind of earn himself a big role in this offense. So I would say right now, a Cowboys wide receiver is going to wildly outproduce their current value. Which one is it? It's probably Ryan Flournoy. But you can definitely take some decent and cheap shots on Brandon Cooks, on Jalen Tolbert, on Jalen Brooks, if you really want to, who I actually am not even that crazy familiar with this guy. I mean, the Cowboys receiving room is just so bad, I guess is the point here. And somebody is going to end up with a lot more volume than we expect, and that volume is going to lead to a ton of production, because I am not going to expect Jalen Brooks, 7th round pick from last year, who only had 64 yards, to really do too much. I'm expecting either Brandon Cooks to bounce back a little bit, or Ryan Flournoy to establish himself in this Cowboys receiving room. I think Tolbert and Brooks are not the answer. And that's just a Jason thing. That's just a Jason wake and take, if you will. So that's the Cowboys receiving room. Again, somebody is going to make some noise here. And why not? Why not Ryan Flournoy? Why not Ryan Flournoy? We've talked about him enough here. I don't have to go into my big spiel again, but I'm telling you guys now, get your Ryan Flournoys everywhere you can. The next bit of news we have for you guys is Tank Dell. Tank Dell, it seems like he's fine. As we know, we kind of talked about how, luckily for him, at least it seemed. I'm not a doctor, so I didn't really know if it was good or bad, but at the time, I thought it was good, and it seems really good now, as we see now a video out of Tank Dell working out, published by his trainer. But as we know, he was shot, kind of wrong place, wrong time. kind of thing. But we also know that the bullet went completely through his leg, which to me signaled that it was probably going to be an easier recovery than one where if the shrapnel got stuck and, there was a lot of different things that needed to be cleaned up. And so, well, that seems to be proven true as, again, his trainer, Delphonte Diamond, has published a training video of him, and he looks good, guys. Tank Dell looks good. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and show you this little workout tape. Here we go. So as you can see, I mean, he's just kind of, like cutting, drinking Gatorade, catching passes. Look at the footwork. It is all still there, guys. I think that it is pretty accepted that Tank Dell's still going to be Tank Dell next season. And if you guys tune into Player Profiler social media, then you'll know that on Twitter, especially, every single night, we do like one kind of interesting stat about a trending player, and nothing like too crazy analytical, but something easy to wrap your head around. And Tank Dell last year only played in 8 games with 50% or more snaps, and he scored 15 points or more in 6 of them. He was just on fire last year. We already know the connection between him and CJ Stroud is massive. CJ Stroud asked the Texans to draft him, and they had great connection last year. We see the clips come out this offseason where CJ Stroud would name Tank Dell his #1 receiver. If he could pick any receiver in the league to run one play with, it's going to be with Tank Dell. So I can't stress it enough. Right now, Tank Dell is in a very low point in his market on best ball. In Dynasty, he's the cheapest Texans receiver, and it's honestly not even that close. And I think that there's a great value here with Tank Dell. I really do. I was a little bit scared because, let's face it here, the one concern with Tank Dell was his frame and his ability to stay healthy, and he was not able to stay healthy last year. He just wasn't. And so it makes sense to move away, be scared because he's small. He has an injury history. But he's kind of damn awesome when he's on the field. So I'm buying as much Tank Dell as possible. I want him on my teams. I love Tank Dell, and hopefully he's still there for me when it's my turn in the Wake and Take Invitational, as I am picking soon in that startup. A little table talk here. We'll see if that bites me in the ass or not. But either way, Tank Dell is looking good. You saw the video. There's a couple other videos out there. He's quick. He's cutting. He's catching. He's drinking Gatorade. Everything you want to see from a hype video, it's there. Tank Dell looking good. And if you wanted some more, his trainer, again, Delphonte Diamond, also interviewed with KPRC2 out of Houston and said that Tank Dell's one message to everyone is, I'm ready to go. Diamond went on to say his mental is good. He has a big smile. And he said it's time to work. His spirits are in a good place. So Tank Dell again, guys, looking good, sounding good, looking healthy. Give me some Tank Dell. Tank Dell everywhere. Really great value in best ball right now. Really, really great value in Dynasty as well, especially with those spike weeks. Dude is awesome. He's just awesome. It is what it is. The next wide receiver to talk about revolves around the OTAs, and that is Rashee Rice. Yesterday, OTAs kicked off for 21 teams. Those 21 teams are the Cardinals, Ravens, Bills, Panthers, Bears, Packers, Texans, Jaguars, Chiefs, Raiders, Chargers, Rams, Dolphins, Vikings, Patriots, Giants, Jets, Eagles, Niners, Seahawks, Titans. Those are all the teams that started their OTAs yesterday. Generally, when OTAs start, you don't hear too much from day one and not necessarily too much on day two either. It's especially day one, though. It's a pretty quiet day, just kind of getting everyone in the building, maybe going over the playbook, doing some walkthroughs and stuff. So just keep your ears peeled to all of those teams throughout the week. We'll probably start seeing some highlight clips, some good interviews from coaches and players and all that stuff that we'll be talking about on Wake and Take. But the big story around yesterday's OTAs, as mentioned, was Rashee Rice, as the Chiefs started their OTAs, and Rashee Rice was in attendance. He will be practicing and participating in all of the off-season training with the Kansas City Chiefs. As we know, I mean, he is subject to punishment, but we don't know when, where, how, what it means, right? If it'll be this season, if it'll be next season, how long will it be? Will he ever play football again? Will he have to go to jail? Is Rashee Rice going to keep doing more knucklehead things this offseason? These are all questions we have when it comes to Rashee Rice. But what we do know for sure is he is out there practicing and playing football. What we do also know for sure is that generally the NFL takes forever to go through these kinds of things and to actually give out punishment. So it is possible, and more than likely at this point, that Rashee Rice will be playing some football this season. Right now, Rashee Rice is incredibly cheap to acquire in best ball, incredibly cheap-ish to acquire in Dynasty. And if you just go based on history, it is probably wise to buy the dip here on Rashee Rice. If the Chiefs are allowing him in the room, in the building, to practice with them, then the whole notion about Andy Reid hating knuckleheads is out the window. He's here. They need him. And he was pretty good last season. The ironic thing about yesterday, and it's awesome for Rashee Rice, is that yesterday was also International Ride Your Bike to Work Day. So I hope he celebrated, as he should not be trusted with a vehicle right now. So that I thought was pretty funny that Rashee Rice got to start his OTAs on International Bike to Work Day. That's just, it's some good little irony, little good stuff. But either way, I'm going to say, again, when it comes to this Rashee Rice situation, we especially have no clue what's going to happen. And when a buying opportunity presents itself for a player like this, I think you've got to capitalize on it. I just do. And I think as we get kind of closer to the season and watch this thing drag on, it seems that the suspension is probably not coming this season, although it might still. I mean, it's just a tough situation. And generally with the tough situations, it's probably best to just take the risk as fortune favors the bold. So Rashee Rice attending OTAs, he's there. Cowboys wide receiver room has some vacancies. Tank Dell is healthy, and 21 NFL teams have begun their OTAs. Guys, that is the quick little news rundown I have for you guys. Let's go ahead and talk some Dynasty Sells. But before we talk some Dynasty Sells, why don't we hear from the Podfather about the Dynasty Deluxe package?
This episode is brought to you by PlayerProfiler, the Dynasty Deluxe package. The rankings are the best in the industry. It includes strategy mode where you can say, hey, change the rankings to be win now. Oh, change the rankings to be productive struggle. There's also a draft planner to help strategize where you should take players because the draft planner also includes ADP. There's a trade finder where we look up on My Fantasy League and we see trades that are done, including a particular player. Then there's a trade analyzer where you can plug in draft picks, players, and we assign a lifetime value to draft picks out 5 years. The best thing about our trade analyzer, it can't be gamed with volume. And there's mock draft data to see right now what's the market for player X versus player Y, including in the fall when very few mock drafts are happening. And our Dynasty Guide, the Dynasty Dominator, would cost you $10 on Amazon, but you get it for free with Dynasty Deluxe, and you get our rookie guide for free, a $25 value. So you get all of that for $45. I mean, it's a great deal.
All right, so I know I segued to Dynasty Sells, but I see here in the comments that the assault charges against Rashee Rice were dropped. So I did a little Google search. This is trending to be true. I don't think they've officially been dropped. It seems that it's going that way. So guys, not big announcements have happened yet. I assume you can probably still try to acquire Rashee Rice when it comes to this. It seems that specifically the photographer that he punched in the face has written an affidavit to have the charges dropped. So it's not official yet. It will, of course, end up being that way. So it seems we found a little bit of a window here to maybe come in before everyone's like, oh, the charges were dropped. However, it is still important to remember that these assault charges were the ones from the photographer that he punched in the face at the club. The photographer that he texted to come back to the club so we could punch him, right? Interesting stuff here when it comes to Rashee Rice. But either way, the charges revolving around the reckless driving and all of that stuff, fleeing the scene of the crime, the hit and run, all that, that's still there, and that's still the more important charges. Those are the felonies and stuff. This assault charge wasn't as important as the rest of the stuff in terms of his eventual suspension. I will ask the question to the audience. How much money do you think Rashee Rice paid that photographer to drop those assault charges? $1 million? 500,000? You let me know in the comments. Either way, this dude was bribed as hell. If I know anything about photographers, it's that they like money and they do not give up on things easily. I can guarantee that. So he definitely was bribed. I'm curious how much you think. How much money did Rashee Rice pay the photographer he punched in the face at the club? So, Dynasty sells, guys. This is how you make your money. When it comes to Dynasty, yes, of course, you want to make the right buys, but more importantly, is the sells. And that's something that's not talked about as much. Do you want a player to die on your roster? Do you want to maximize the value of a player? These are numbers to us, these are dollar signs. I know we love our players, but year in, year out, values fluctuate. And capitalizing at the right time of a market is the number one way to protect your team from losing value, but to also gain production on your rosters. So when it comes to selling windows of great players, it might hurt to do it, but you have to do it. And I want to stress that, as today's dynasty sells at each position are some tough ones to swallow. I know it. If you guys have ever watched any of my content, I do not shy away from the bold takes. I do not shy away from getting rid of the good players. In fact, I think it's a good idea to get rid of your good players in Dynasty if you get the right return. That has to be emphasized. You have to get the right return. But when it comes to these players, right now, it seems you will get the right return, as they are at the top of the market, starting with rookie quarterback Caleb Williams. Jason, you're already selling Caleb Williams? He hasn't played a game of football. That's exactly why I'm selling Caleb Williams. Can we see it first, guys? Can we just see it first? Can we just wait for some games to be played? Can we? Can we? That would be nice. I would appreciate that. As right now, Caleb Williams is sitting at quarterback 7 on Keep Trade Cut and quarterback 8 on Player Profiler. That's right. Caleb Williams is already ahead of quarterbacks like Kyler Murray, Anthony Richardson, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Brock Purdy, Jordan Love. The list goes on and on and on. And you cannot convince me that Caleb Williams will outscore any one of those quarterbacks easily. You just can't. Right now, Caleb Williams is valued as if he's already succeeded. He hasn't. We're still months away from football. I am not paying these prices for Caleb Williams. In fact, I'm taking my Caleb Williams while the rookie hype is high, and I'm selling him for Jordan Love plus, for Trevor Lawrence plus, for Justin Herbert plus, for Jared Goff plus. You can get the same amount of points as you would with Caleb Williams with another quarterback. And right now you can get an excellent cherry on top. I mean, picture this. You could probably easily, this is probably bottom of the barrel offer, but you could probably take Caleb Williams, get Jordan Love, Christian Watson, and maybe even like another player thrown in there. You get a little Packers stack with similar ceiling and youth. I mean, come on, guys. This is easy. This is easy stuff. Nothing against the player that Caleb Williams is. I'm sure he'll succeed, and I'm sure he might be around this range, but he's not going any higher. You cannot convince me that Caleb Williams will pass Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, CJ Stroud, Joe Burrow. He's not passing those quarterbacks no matter what. He's just not. He's just not. And so right now he's already valued as if he's one of those elite options, and he hasn't shown it yet. Will he show it? More than likely. But can you capitalize on that? Can you sell him right now and get a really, really good return? Yes. This time last year, Bryce Young, the other quarterback one, was like quarterback 13, 14 in Dynasty. CJ Stroud about the same. The other rookie quarterbacks this year are in the 20s. Bo Nix, Michael Penix, JJ McCarthy, Drake May. They're all so much cheaper. Jaden Daniels, so much cheaper. If you want to stay with rookies, you could just take Caleb Williams and trade him for any of those rookie quarterbacks plus, as all of them, again, I kind of believe in. They seem to have all gotten the right landing spot. So again, I am downgrading Caleb Williams while I still can, while the rookie hype is still wild, and while people are valuing him as a proven elite asset when he hasn't done it yet. Let's let some football happen. Let's let him play some games. I guarantee there's going to be a buying opportunity for Caleb Williams at some point this season, at least where he is right now, but probably even cheaper than he is right now. I definitely expect the dynasty rankings to fluctuate when the points actually start coming in, because I don't get it. Again, quarterback 7 on Keep Trade Cut. That he hasn't played a snap yet. It is, as Anthony points out in the chat, Caleb being ahead of Kyler Murray is not reasonable. It's not. I can't think of a single reason why you would do it. Kyler Murray, a consensus top 5 quarterback on a season-to-season basis in terms of the points he scores, an electric quarterback with Marvin Harrison Jr. and now Trey McBride and Trey Benson, even who should be pretty sweet. I mean, come on. Downgrade your Caleb Williams, get another quarterback with a cherry on top. The next dynasty sell I have for you guys is Tyreek Hill. And this is another one. Nothing against the player when it comes to Tyreek Hill. But when you look around the market and other dynasty rankings, especially the dynasty rankings of other wide receivers near or at his age, there's a wild difference. Just a wild difference. Right now, Tyreek Hill is valued at the wide receiver 13 on Keep Trade Cut, wide receiver 12 on Player Profiler, but he's over 30. And I know that Tyreek Hill is a week-winning asset and a league-winning asset when healthy and when producing. And I'm not even saying that he won't produce. But if you look at Keep Trade Cut, the next wide receiver that is 20, even 28, like as young as 28, again, Tyreek Hill is 30. The next wide receiver that is 28 or older is Deebo Samuel. And he is wide receiver 31. You're talking about 18 different wide receivers between Tyreek Hill and Deebo Samuel, who's 2.5 years younger than Tyreek Hill. And then Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Evans. Those wide receivers are in the mid to late 30s of the dynasty rankings. And Tyreek Hill is older or the same age as a lot of those guys. And so I am taking my Tyreek Hill while his value is still at or near that of Jalen Waddle and other young, ascending dynasty wide receivers, and I'm offloading Tyreek Hill. I know it sounds crazy. I know, but you can get so much for him. You just can't. And I'm doing it. I'm selling Tyreek Hill, 30-year-old wide receiver. Again, the next oldest wide receiver on Keep Trade Cut is 28-year-old Deebo Samuel, all the way down at wide receiver 31. You can take Tyreek Hill and you can get like 4 Cooper Kupps. And that to me is so special. You can stay in that realm of win now wide receiver and get something on top. You can get like probably Cooper Kupp at a first, which is just awesome. So anyway, I'm selling Tyreek Hill. I know it's crazy. I get it. He can win you your weeks, but he can also lose you your weeks if he got hurt, and then he can completely crumble. Let's think of it this way. Last year, Cooper Kupp was about this, or maybe 2 years ago, after his massive season and still kind of 30 years old. Got injured. Now he's in the wide receiver 30s. It's a snap of a finger to lose your dynasty value when you're this old, and your production is very much predicated on spike weeks and your speed. So Tyreek Hill, I'm just getting rid of him. I don't want him on my roster. The next player we are selling, and this one's a tough one, and the value varies. I'm going to go ahead and admit that, but it seems the right move, is Jonathan Brooks. And I'm not as convicted on this one, but it's kind of hard to find a running back sell right now, to be completely honest with you. I think everyone's value is about right. And I've said sell Devon Achane enough. I mean, really, Devon Achane's the number one sell, but I just can't. I can't keep saying that, right? I just can't. So I wanted to find a different one today. And I'm going with Jonathan Brooks kind of for the same reason as Caleb Williams. Right now on Keep Trade Cut, Jonathan Brooks is RB10, which is, I mean, he's valued as a top 10 dynasty RB, coming off an ACL tear, going to an offense that needs a lot to happen for them to even be good, which is awful for a running back. I mean, you want running backs on good teams. And of course, with the injury, there's probably going to be another buying window when it comes to Jonathan Brooks. And I mentioned he's the RB10 on Keep Trade Cut. Player Profiler does have him a bit more reasonable at RB15, which I think is about right. Because, I mean, he does have the ceiling, right? I mean, Jonathan Brooks is more than likely going to be a bell cow for the Panthers for years to come. With that draft capital, I do want Jonathan Brooks on rosters. But I think right now you can sell during rookie hype and then kind of buy back into him maybe closer to the season when it's looking like he's not going to be starting for a couple weeks. And if you want to stay in the rookie RB market, you can take him and sell for Trey Benson, who's down at RB16 on Keep Trade Cut. 6 running back difference between Brooks and Benson. And they kind of have similar situations to where this year, you know, there's a path for them to be successful, but their most likely path to success is in 2025. And so I am buying Jonathan Brooks and buying Trey Benson more than likely closer to the season. Right now, I'm especially selling Jonathan Brooks as he's a little bit more expensive than Trey Benson. and is in just not that great of a situation, right? Like the Panthers offense is not that good, although Dave Canales projects to be awesome for running backs. He did a good job with Rachaad White. So I do want Jonathan Brooks, just not right now. I think that right now he's valued as if, again, he's going to produce. And he's coming off an ACL tear, so he's probably going to start slow or even miss some time beginning of the season. And Chuba Hubbard might start off hot. And then there's a little bit of a buy window here for Jonathan Brooks. That's what I'm expecting. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. So I'm just going to go ahead and sell him now and perhaps maybe try to buy back into him later. So yeah. And on to the hottest sells. I talked about one player per position, but for tight end, we're going with the big three. We're selling 3 tight ends today. We're selling Trey McBride. We're selling Brock Bowers. And we're selling Dalton Kincaid because right now, those guys' values are too high. They're just too high. Trey McBride may be the safer of the 3. But even with him, there is stuff not to like really when it comes to his production. We'll start with Trey McBride, who right now is valued at the tight end 2 on Keep Trade Cut, tight end 3 on Player Profiler, and finished last year averaging over 10 points per game, finished with 800 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns, and was really, really good down the stretch after Zach Ertz got hurt. 14 targets, 5 targets, 9 targets, 7 targets, 9 targets, 9 targets, 11 targets, 8, 7, 6 targets. So really averaged about 8.5 to 9 targets a game from weeks 8 through 18, which is just awesome for a tight end. He had 1, 2, 3, 4 games with over 20 points in that span. Just awesome, awesome, awesome production. But he was doing that without Marvin Harrison Jr. And I just don't think that he's going to be able to get that much volume again. It'll be close, right? I mean, I'm still expecting Trey McBride to be really good. And so that's why I'm saying he's the more solidified, I think, in terms of his value when it comes to McBride. But I just want to see how this offense looks with Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't think he's going to have another 14 target game. That just feels a little ridiculous because Marvin Harrison Jr. is the exact type of wide receiver that commands so many targets. Michael Wilson also, of course, kind of establishing himself as a number 2 option. I just think that this is going to be, I don't get me wrong. I like Trey McBride. I'll get him at the right value, but I think right now it's a little too high. And specifically, I would be using Trey McBride to get Mark Andrews, to get TJ Hawkinson, to get Kyle Pitts. I think that those 3 tight ends especially are the disrespected ones right now. It's less so about Dalton Kincaid, Trey McBride, and Brock Bowers, and more so about Mark Andrews, TJ Hawkinson, and Kyle Pitts being undervalued right now. And the fact that you can take any 3 of these younger tight ends and trade them for these actual tight ends that have proven it and are true alphas on their team, that's what I'm doing. Because Kyle Pitts, again, is younger than Trey McBride and younger than Dalton Kincaid and has more proven production. So I would like to do that move. When it comes to Dalton Kincaid, he's the tight end 4 on both Keep Trade Cut and Player Profiler. But the big concern comes with his usage when Dawson Knox was on the field from week 14 through 20. Here are his points with Dawson Knox: 7, 0, 1.7, 13, 15, 15, 10. So fine. But that's not that great. Dawson Knox is still there, and I know Stephon Diggs left, but they brought in Keon Coleman, right? They brought in MVS, which doesn't mean as much. They brought in Curtis Samuel. They still have Khalil Shakir. They have James Cook catching passes out of the backfield. I just don't think Dalton Kincaid is ever going to be, at least this year, I just don't think really ever he's going to be a guy getting 12 targets a game, a Travis Kelce type talent. I think he's going to be good. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll get targets. I think he'll get touchdowns. But I also expect plenty of these, 7, 6, 5-point games when it comes to this player. I think that it's going to be spread around a lot in Buffalo because there's so many different mouths to feed, and there's no true elite alpha option here. Keon Coleman could establish himself as that. Dalton Kincaid could establish himself as that, but I am not happy with how he produced last year when Dawson Knox was on the field. I'm just not. And so I'm not really happy investing in him at his price tag. Again, I would be taking Kincaid and just trying to get Mark Andrews, TJ Hawkinson, or Kyle Pitts. And lastly, Brock Bowers, tight end 3 on Keep Trade Cut, tight end 2 on Player Profiler. I can't do it. I can't do it. It's just such a bad landing spot. The Las Vegas Raiders for Brock Bowers, and to still be valued ahead of TJ Hawkinson, Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts, even ahead of Dalton Kincaid, I would be taking Brock Bowers and going to get DJ Hawkinson, Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts, Dalton Kincaid, maybe even Trey McBride if you could do it. Brock Bowers is the number 1 sell when it comes to the tight end position, but I wanted to lump in Trey McBride and Dalton Kincaid as well, as I think that they have some chance of being a little too high, but Brock Bowers especially. Let's, like Caleb Williams, let's see it first. Can we just see it first? Let's see how this Raiders offense works. We don't even know who the quarterback will be, although it's going to be Gardner Minshew. Devontae Adams gets a ton of targets. Jacoby Myers gets a ton of targets, right? Michael Mayer going into year 2. Like, it could be a 2 tight end thing. Like, I just want to see how Brock Bowers is used before I'm valuing ahead of some actual stud tight ends that have proven it time and time again. And I'm selling. I'm just doing it. I don't care that he's a rookie. I don't care that he's young. I don't care that he has the college production. I would rather just go get Mark Andrews, TJ Hawkinson, or Kyle Pitts plus. That's just my cup of tea. That's just where I'm at when it comes to that. So those are my dynasty sells. Caleb Williams, Tyreek Hill, Jonathan Brooks, and the big 3 young tight ends. I think that all of them you could offload to get Andrews, TJ Hawkinson, Kyle Pitts. That is everything I have for you guys. Do we have any questions? How many games does TJ Hawkinson miss to start the season? If you go check out yesterday's episode, we actually talked a little bit about this. As it came out, he still has no timeline expected for his recovery. He said he's going through it well and hasn't had any setbacks yet. So I would say worst case is 6 weeks. I think that that's worst case. I think right now my head is expecting the PUP list, missing 4 games and then returning in week 5. That's my best guess. Zach says he needed a quarterback in Superflex and loved Marvin. So he took Marvin Harrison Jr. at the 101 and then traded the 108 for James Cook and Joe Burrow. That is an impressive trade. I am surprised that you were able to get that. That is incredible stuff. That is incredible stuff. What a move. Let's see. I got offered a 25 first for Tank. You smashed the decline button. I would hold on to Tank too. It's right there. Like, I would love a first. Like, I'm sure there are certain teams where it's like, okay, I'll just take the first. Like, if you are really strong at wide receiver, but I think Tank Dell's going to be fine. So that should do it for our questions, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is another fun episode of The Wake and Take. I'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern on the Player Profiler, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe and check out the podcast via the link in the description. You can follow me wherever you listen to podcasts or wherever you get your social media at JFootballWine. You all have a terrific Tuesday and a wonderful rest of your week. Peace.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to playerprofiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, data analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.